Hello, my name's Nigel T. Packer, and this is the first episode of SWBC, Smart Welsh Business Channel. Over the coming months and years, we'll be doing lots of interviews with people who have started and run businesses in the Wales and South West region, with a focus on how they started, how things progressed, and where they intended to go in the future. Is to help you, as the viewer, understand how businesses start and how to run businesses so that you can possibly become an entrepreneur yourself and develop a business. Our first interview today is with Jayne Ludgate, who 20 years ago, with her husband, started a retail outlet in the depths of Wales. And I'm not going to do all the talking. It's to hear Jayne's story. So let's introduce Jayne Ludgate. Thank you, Jayne, for coming along.
Pleasure.
And I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. Let's start off. How long had you been married before you started the business?
We'd been married about 2 weeks
2
before we
weeks.
signed the dotted line. We'd just come back from honeymoon in Jamaica, came off the plane, went straight to the solicitors and signed the dotted line.
So there was a lot happening at that time then?
That was 99 was a busy year for us.
So before that time, you'd been discussing it evidently with your fiance. You had already decided that you were going to start a business. So what was that first activity then, that business activity? Did you actually start with finding a shop, or did you just buy another business?
The initial business plan was to set up my own interiors business. It wasn't the arcade as we know it.
Yes.
Actually, the arcade was a different business at the time, and it was a business that was still going. I wanted to set up my own little business in the town of Newcastle Emlyn, and I remember approaching the bank at the time, and the lady at the bank said, "Have you got a business plan?" And I didn't have a business plan because I came from a totally different background. I'd done an architecture degree. So I actually did a course, a small few-day course, and did a business plan, and then went back to the bank.
Did the business plan help you to grow the business, or to establish the business and started moving forward? Or, had you already had those ideas in the back of your head?
I had the ideas at the back of my head. The only thing that you need if you need to borrow some money, is you need a business plan, which will work.
Yeah. So you used the business plan to get finance.
Yes.
How much of the finance? I don't want to go into too many personal details, but what percentage of the finance was yours and was from an investor like the bank or loan?
Probably from the bank, probably about 70 to 80% actually. So we were after quite a big chunk.
Yes.
The thing that was difficult was we were young. I was 22. My husband was 29, and my brother was 20. So there were 3 people going to the business, and we were all very young.
Was the bank's reaction when you said you want to borrow this money?
It depended which bank you went to see. We went to see all the banks, and they all had different reactions.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about the banks you actually ended up with, because everyone has to make their own choice, and banks treat different businesses with different in different degrees. So what was the next step then?
The next step was to build on customers, trying to get customers.
Was the shop
to buy.
Already established, or did you have to rent a shop?
There was a business there, but the business that we purchased had gone into administration.
Right.
And that happened in February, and we actually purchased the business in June.
Right. So it had been out of business for 6 months.
Yes.
So no stock there. Was there any stock left there? Or?
There was some items left, but the cream had gone.
Yeah. So you had to restock the whole thing. That's where the loan came from.
Yeah.
Newcastle Emlyn is quite a little bit way out of off the main beaten track. How did you attract customers at that stage?
Oh, I live in Newcastle Emlyn, but the business is in Llandyssil.
Oh, Llandyssil,
yeah.
Sorry.
We had to do a lot of events. We had to go to lots of trade shows, agricultural shows. We did quite well.
Yeah.
We did open days to try and get people to come into our business to have a look how we were changing the direction of the business. It did also help that there was a business there beforehand which sold similar products. It wasn't too far off the beaten track.
Yeah. So people already knew those things there. So
Yes.
did you pick up old customers who started coming back again, or
We did, yes.
was it all new?
The previous business, they sold range cookers in a big way, Arga, Rayburn, big brands. But we put our own stamp on things and started bringing in newer products. And thankfully, it was a product there was an increase in the market. We jumped on that right at the start.
Reading through some of the information that I found about you online, there wasn't a great deal, unfortunately, but reading through some of it, 7 years later, or before I get to that point, you had the shop in Llandysil, so I know that you actually have more than one shop. So
Yes.
how did you open up the others? What was the progression to get to that stage? Was it to reach bigger marketplaces?
It was. We always knew that Pembrokeshire was crying out for a business which was similar to us. A lot of our customers did come from Pembrokeshire, and we thought if somebody, we may as well do it before somebody else jumps in there and takes our market share there.
Because basically you were the only ones doing the sort of things that you were doing in the area?
There were two other companies doing it locally, and it was always a case of it was either them or us going to do the next move. And we decided it was going to be us.
So then the second shop you opened was in
Haverford West. Yes.
And then you opened one
in Crosshands. That was quite a while later. We struggled to find property down in Crosshands that wouldn't financially cripple us. And it took time, but we got there in the end.
And then that then allows you to access the sort of Swansea.
It did.
Metropolis, as it were.
It did.
And so where there's a larger population base.
Yes.
When did you do the Crosshands store? When was that purchased?
Crosshands, probably around 2011, 2012.
So before that, because I know, before that in 2007, you set up your first website.
We did, yes.
Was that for Arcade?
Well, we decided there was with the wood burning side of things, there was a bit of, people weren't keen to do these wood burners online. So we decided that we were going to call ourselves, rather than being called Arcade, we would disguise ourselves a little bit. And we called ourselves Wood Burner Warehouse.
Which probably is a very good thing, because
for the product,
people buy wood burners and it's in the website address. So was that an influence in your decision on the name, or?
Obviously, we discussed it quite often. The meetings in our company happened at nights back at our house, and we would sit around the kitchen table and we would discuss these names and what would hold water and what would make us sound a lot bigger than what we actually were. And Wood Burner Warehouse, the warehouse being, it just makes you sound as if you're much bigger than what you actually were.
What were the challenges of moving your business from a bricks and mortar into this virtual world of the internet? What were the challenges for you at the time? Can you remember?
There were quite a few challenges. In order to sell something online and do it well, you need to hold stock. And the premises we had in Llandysil at the time wasn't suitable for that purpose. We just felt we were expanding and needed more space. So space was one. The other thing was that we didn't really understand how to do websites. And there were a lot of companies out there, in order to try and get you to rank quite highly, they wanted a lot of money from you. They were offering services, and you were almost having to guess who to go with. And that was hard.
So you established the website, you had the storage area to keep the stock.
Yes.
Did it distract you too much from your bricks and mortar business then, or did you find the footfall in this bricks and mortar, people would find out, oh, they got a website, we'll go there instead?
I think some people still don't really know that we're the owners of Wood Burner Warehouse.
I see. Well, perhaps this channel might add on.
There's a different type of customer that buys online.
Yeah.
That some people will want to come in store, and we feel it's two different masks that you have to wear.
Yeah. So you deliver from the warehouse directly to the customer then, or?
Yes. Yeah.
So have costs changed? Do they running a bricks and mortar business where you have staff and people coming in to purchase and everything else? It's different with the internet. So because you can have it in the warehouse in a less expensive rental area.
Yes.
You still employ quite a few people, but they don't see the public.
Yes.
So do you find the balancing of costs against pricing and everything else within the virtual business different to any degree from?
They probably balance out about the same,
Yeah.
I would have said. Quite often manufacturers think that people that sell online only haven't got the overheads, but they do have the overheads.
That's interesting. Was that something that surprised you when you actually started looking at the figures, or?
No, it's, I think because we do go over the figures quite often, we do always know which direction the company's going to go in.
I know that you and your husband run the business now.
Yeah.
Who's in charge?
It depends exactly who's asking, and it depends what the situation is. We both have our strengths, so we both have our weaknesses. Quite often my strength can be his weakness and vice versa.
That's really interesting, because one of the things that I was wondering about with you is that you're both in the business, you're working together all the time. You go home and you're still, are you still talking about the business, or do you have defined demarcation that says when we're home, there's no business? If you want to bring an item up, it's in the office or something.
I think if you run a business together, you cannot help but bring those conversations home.
Yeah.
The kids don't like it. It sounds awful, but sometimes, even when my mother comes to us on Christmas Day, the discussion, because she's in the business as well, quite often the business creeps into it automatically.
But I'm sure you're quite relaxed about it now. And
yes, I think the kids are used to it by now.
Used to it.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. How do you balance everything then? You know, you're a mother, you have businesses, you have website businesses. You know, how do you do the balance? How do you actually switch off?
Truthfully, I don't think I ever switched off. I probably haven't switched off in the last 20 years. With the kids, you adapt. You adapt quite well. Good childcare. That's
I have
what you
every
need.
admiration for you, because it's sometimes I can only think about one thing at a time on a project or something, but you seem to have to balance so many different things and drop the children off in school and go off to the office, and then suddenly you're put on the phone to something that's just cropped up somewhere, and it's phenomenal. Do you rely a lot on your staff, because you employ quite a few staff?
I rely on certain members of staff quite heavily, but I've got a good team at the moment, so I'm really happy.
So you started, you've grown. Where do you go in the future?
We have got expansion plans. The plan is actually submitted at the moment, so there is growth there. There are challenges in the fact that we want to develop the business in the town where we're established. We don't really want to move from there, because we've got links there, we've got friends there, our staff are there. But it's difficult.
How do you do distribution then? Does it go, you know, you've got the warehouse,
yes,
the building where you store all the stock and things. So you have suppliers coming from, I assume, not just the UK, but other parts of the world.
Yes.
The supply chain that you've developed, okay, for the shops is quite straightforward, because is most of the sales in the shops from the local area, or do you have people travelling a distance to come to the shop itself?
What we sell is quite niche, so people do travel. We supply to, from our retail outlets, then most of Wales. but obviously online.
It's anywhere.
We try and stick to the UK. We get asked to supply a lot to the rest of Europe, the rest of the world. But that comes with another challenge.
Yes.
So we're not at that stage at the moment.
Would you look at that as a future direction?
I would like to, but I think we need more help in order to do that.
Yeah. Okay. That's quite interesting. So you took the challenge off and starting a business. You've built a successful business from that. Would you do it again?
I like to take challenges on board. It depends what time of the year you ask me this question. Sometimes it's, yes, I would do it again.
Yeah.
When you're busy and business is thriving, it's fantastic. But sometimes the year you get the boring forms that come through that you have to fill every single year, and that's the time I feel, this isn't what I'm in business for.
You need a new administrator.
Yeah, possibly. I'm a control freak.
Oh, I
I like
see.
to do most of the work.
One of the things that you've discussed is about certain times of the year you have certain activities. What happens with the whole seasonality thing? Do people only buy wood burners in certain times of the year, or is it continuous the whole year round, especially with the internet?
It's not continuous all year round, even on the internet.
Uh-huh.
We tend to find, like now, some summer months it's actually quite quiet. Winter months it gets excessively busy. It even peaks towards Christmas. Everybody wants something for Christmas. And we've diversified, rather than just selling wood burners, we sell the fire tools and stuff that goes with it. And that becomes extremely busy in the run up to Christmas.
And things like replacement parts and...
Replacement parts is actually quite constant. That's a constant line of business. So we're doing quite well on that side of things.
That's good. Was that something that you surprised you, or... Because I know you have a separate website for the parts.
Yes.
So do you... was that something that grew out of the main website?
What we tend to find is you get a product that you sell, and maybe something else would come from that product, quite similar, but something different, and then you can develop something new. So we've developed 2 other websites from that one.
How have you seen the income from the websites or the use of the websites over the past 12 years since you started the first one? Has it become a larger contribution to the business, or is it sort of...
There's been a natural increase in the sales of wood burners anyway.
Yes.
We started Wood Burner Warehouse off in 2007. 2008, 2009, there was such a huge peak in wood burning stoves that everybody was starting to buy one. It continued, and there's been a slight decline in the wood burning market. There was, unfortunately, something came out with the government that how bad for the environment the wood burning stoves were, and it did.
But it's a sustainable, you grow the trees, you cut them down,
yes.
you plant more, and you burn what you grow. So I thought that was a sustainable...
What they're trying to do is reduce the particle emissions.
Right.
So there's a new batch of wood burners coming out. So hopefully we'll see people replacing their old wood burners and buying new.
Is that something that you've consciously moved towards as far as your business is concerned, and the environment is about the removal of the particulates? Do you find that sometimes legislation comes in that affects your business in
Definitely.
that way?
And it's entirely rocked the wood burning stove market. So they're all busy trying to get these through. There's quite a bit of time ahead actually to get it through, but customers are aware of it already.
Right, so they're already asking you for one of the new particulate removing ones. How does that work? I'm sorry, I'm just curious about that.
Quite often manufacturers have to adapt their existing wood burning stoves, or quite often wood burning stoves come out newer versions of them. So yeah, they're being tested, and
it gives them an opportunity then to come up with new modern designs and modern shapes.
That's correct. Yes,
because I've seen some of the new modern wood burners and not the traditional pot belly stoves, the flat thing with a coffee pot that you see in American westerns, but they're much more stylized, designer wood burners, and I love mine. I've got to admit that. You've talked about the past, you've talked about the way you're going forward. What about the business itself? How do you intend to take that business forward? Is it something for you to pass on to your children? Or is it something that you're looking to grow to a certain size and have an exit strategy of some sorts? Where do you see the future when you decide that I've had enough now, I want to have a rest from all this?
There's obviously two business partners in the business at the moment, and I think we've possibly both got slightly different exit strategies. I'm more inclined, because I've got historic ties to Llandyssil and the family having business in Llandyssil. My grandparents started off in Llandyssil running a business. I think I'm more emotionally attached to the business. My husband has seen it as a financial investment.
Yes.
So we're both slightly different from that side of things. I would like to pass it on to my children. I've got 3 daughters, and I would like to see it go to them. I'm not sure if they want the business, that's the problem.
Yes, and youngsters have a different way of looking at life.
They have, yes.
Are they active in the business now? Or do they help out?
The eldest one is. She comes in and helps. She helps quite a bit with the bookkeeping. She's looking to do a degree in business.
Oh, excellent.
So yeah, she's interested. She likes that side of things.
So she's about to go off to do her degree, I understand.
She is, yes.
So she does a degree, and then she comes back in with lots of new ideas, or would you expect her to go out and do something else first?
She's doing a combined degree. She's combining French and business. Her intention is to do international business.
Interesting.
Yes.
Oh. And perhaps then she can come back and help you with an export part of the business.
Possibly, because things could change in the next few years with, if we leave Europe, how do we continue the relationship with the next side of things? So hopefully that would be a big influence. And we deal a lot with quite a few French suppliers.
Oh, yes.
So I think
French
the
is a very useful...
She translates quite a bit of documents for me.
Excellent, excellent. This is interesting because most of the publicity or the news that you see these days about young people is always on a negative slant. And yet, in the background, there's lots of young people who are progressing. I've seen it through my experiences being in the university and coming and giving lectures occasionally. It's the whole, the hope that actually is coming out when I hear of stories like this and see people. Is it something that you've influenced them on about the business? Is it something that you, other than just around the kitchen table and or the dinner table, is it something that they've expressed interest in before, if not necessarily in Woodburner, but also in Arcadia, but also in the other business? Are they interested in running their own business?
The eldest one is. She's definitely interested in running her own business. I don't think it'll be what we sell. I think in order to run a business successfully, you need to believe in the product that you're selling. You need to love that product to sell it on.
Yes.
And that you can see that with staff sometimes. If they don't believe in the product they're selling to customers, they don't grow. But if they believe in it, so she needs something which she really believes in.
And she's young. And hopefully the 3 years and or 4 years that she does in university and the experience she gets in another business will give her the ideas. That's fantastic. So what advice would you give to other people who wanted to start an online business?
I think in order to run your own online business successfully, you need to know who you want to sell to. I think you need to take control of that as much as possible. You don't want somebody else to build your website in a way that it doesn't look as if it's your company. You want it to represent your company quite well. I actually didn't set up the first website that we did back in 2007. We had a company develop a website for us. And every time we needed to change a product on it, we had to go back on the phone to that company. Can you change this? Can you change that? Or can you put this product on? We relaunched the website back in 2012, I think it was. And we decided that this website was going to be user-friendly for us as people selling a product. So we can put our own products on there, make it look the way we want, have the right colour, have the right images on there. And we managed that fine, so we did quite well. I actually did an evening course back in about 2010. I decided that I was going to go every Monday evening to a local college to learn about web design. That was tough. That was leaving work at 5 to be down in college for 6, and you were quite tired. You'd done a day's work and then trying to do that evening course. But I pursued with the idea and continued to go. I wasn't in my comfort zone. I did find some things really difficult and there were tears. But I got the gist of how to do basic things and how to link and how to do basic SEO work. And that was a big turning point in my life.
So you would advise people to actually go and learn about?
The course didn't cost much. It was less than £100. And for the amount of hours of assistance you had there, that was a bargain. Yeah. What I'm saying is if someone is going to start a business, it's like running a bricks and mortar business. Get your business plan sorted out. Yes. Learn the skills that you need to actually run the business and not to abdicate the website to somebody else. Yes. Do you think then that everybody should learn how to build a website, or can you use third parties under instruction? Because you said earlier that you like to be in control of things. Personally, I don't like using third parties. If I have a new product come in, or if I go to an event where a new product is being launched, within minutes I can report back to the office, and I've got somebody in the office that can instantly put that product straight on there. Brilliant. And it's up there straight away. And I think that's really key. How do you actually get that message out then to your potential customers? We use quite a bit of social media. Social media is growing in quite a rapid way. There are certain generations of people that use different social media. I use Facebook quite a bit for my generation. My children use something different. So I constantly discuss with the children, if you were to buy something, how would you go about it? What platforms do you use? And it's quite interesting. So you've got your research group around the kitchen table, basically. I've got my, yes. Yeah, that's useful. One of the advantages of having children. Yes. Especially if you're looking at a different age target with your customers. You said earlier on about the when you opened the shops, the bricks and mortar shops, that people were travelling from the Tri-County area of Carmarthen, Pembrokeshire, and up to Ceredigion to purchase in Llandyssil, because there was no one supplying there. Do you feel competition online is bigger, or? Yes. And where do you fit in that sort of marketplace? What you tend to find with online quite often is it can drive down the prices of what you sell in store. We've been fortunate in the fact that we've been able to give our local customers a good price because our buying power has become that much greater. Yeah. The service that you do get in store when you talk to somebody face to face is nice, but not everybody likes to purchase something talking to somebody face to face. Some people like to buy online, and that's the way they are. So we try and cater for both. How do you deal with? We talked about social media, and your young
daughters are involved with social media. How do you balance their time on the internet? And because you grew up in a slightly different age where we didn't have all these wonderful technology solutions for communicating. There was the telephone, which you dialed. How did you restrict them at all, or do you encourage them, or?
We try and restrict, but I think it does fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
In order to restrict them, you have to turn the Wi-Fi off.
And that restricts you.
And that restricts me, so that doesn't work. It's hard to preach something when you're using quite a bit of social media yourself, and you're using the computer yourself quite a bit at night because you're putting products on. Yeah.
So you basically are working 24 hours a day?
Really, yes.
So where do you get your free space? Where do you switch off? Where do you actually get away from it all? And holidays, how do you do with your holidays?
Holidays, I do tend to go abroad at least once a year, because that's the only time you can not fully switch off, because you still communicate with the office by email. I don't think you're ever free anymore from anything, with your mobile being so accessible. I do genuinely enjoy what I do. I enjoy what I sell. I enjoy the business.
It's fun.
Most of the time, yes, it is fun. I do love what I do.
Where do you do your thinking?
Genuinely in the bath at night.
Do you ever go somewhere somewhere quiet or peaceful for your white space?
I do walk quite a bit. Just to clear the head. Even if it's half an hour to an hour walk, I do enjoy that.
So what's your ideal walk?
I do the same walk every night almost. It's in Newcastle Emlyn, we've got quite a nice footpath that goes round the castle there, and there's riverside. It's beautiful there.
So you just listen to the tinkling of the water as it rushes past, washing away your day. So you can face or change position from being family or business to being mother.
It makes you think slightly different. You need time out just to think sometimes.
There's a huge demand for wellness and people getting work-life balance right. Would you want to get more of have a little bit less work and a bit more life at the moment, or are you still driving the business?
We're still driving the business. I think because it's been mostly work all the time. It's hard to step away from that. And I think what I suffer from mostly is the guilt when you're not working on your business. It's the feeling guilty.
Why do you feel guilty? Don't you think you deserve now to have a little bit of your family time?
I possibly do, but I always think that I could be doing something else.
Do you feel a responsibility towards your staff? And, your family? Your family, but also have your staff become part of your family?
Yes, certain members of staff have definitely become family. We actually lost somebody who'd been with us for quite a few years. She passed away quite suddenly, and I never thought that you'd have that emotional attachment to somebody that worked for you. But it felt as if we'd lost a family member, and that was really difficult. That's probably one of the worst times in the last 20 years.
So, as I said earlier, where next? More websites or more stores?
It won't be more stores. More stores, you rely on people turning in to work. With the website, if you're one down, it doesn't matter as much. You can sort of cover it. But with retail outlets, you need a certain amount of staff.
You said footfall has stayed the same, grown in the stores, so that there's not a footfall issue.
No. Footfall issue is the town that we're in has declined. We've lost quite a few banks and things, but we are fortunate that we do bring people in specifically for our products.
Banking again. You've moved online, I assume.
Yes.
So you've lost a bank in Llandyssil, but do you? How do you communicate with your bank? Do they come and visit you now, or?
But they're there if you need them. They're there. There's a phone that you can contact, and people don't pay in cash anymore. Checks very reluctantly. Online banking is fine for us.
How often do you get checks now?
You'd be surprised. You'd be
Still
surprised.
get quite a few.
Yeah, that is a nuisance.
Yeah, but everyone is all card and.
Mostly, yes.
What about the smaller products that you sell? Those are very seasonal because you have Christmas products and gifts, you have Mother's Day gifts, and you have sort of summer gifts.
We don't really sell seasonal products. We try and sell stuff which sell all year round. Yes. Obviously, you peak at Christmas, but.
Well, thank you very, very much for giving up your time, Jayne, to come and speak to us. I'm hoping that some of the things that you've said and explained about will help other people make decisions and perhaps learn a little bit about how they can start their own business, whether it's in a retail or whether it's online. First interview with Jayne from Woodburner Warehouse and the Arcadia Group, Llandyssil Limited. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and I hope it's given you some ideas. And please tune back again soon and come and see the next interview. We'll be having, as I said at the beginning, we'll be having a regular tune in and subscribe to the channel. I think there's a little red button down there somewhere. We look forward to seeing you and supporting us in the future. Thank you very much indeed. This is SWBC signing off.